Welcome, everyone. I'm here to talk about the ASARCO smelter facility and the redevelopment that's happening down there and the remedial activities that are ongoing. ASARCO is, this property is part of the larger Commencement Bay Superfund site that extends from the Hylebos Waterway all the way through the city of Ruston in North Tacoma. It's both offshore sediments and uplands and groundwater, so we have all media here. I'm just going to get right into it. So next slide. So a little bit of background for those who aren't aware. We had a record of decision signed in 1993. The record of decision is the cleanup plan. So we went through a public comment period to figure out what was the best cleanup plan for this site, and we chose capping. So the entire site is to be capped with a low permeable cap. The cap being low permeable makes it so rainwater doesn't infiltrate through the soil and go through the contaminated slag and soil that's underneath the cap, and prevents contamination from getting out into Commencement Bay via groundwater. So it also was the consolidation of all the highly toxic soils, and they were consolidated in the on-site containment facility. This piece here. So that is located just on the other side of the commencement here, for those who don't know. We also worked with the community to come up with a master development plan that was mainly done with ASARCO, working with the cities of Ruston and Tacoma and the communities and metro parks. EPA participated, but we were not active, and we did not sign on to the final because we don't do development, but we foster development and want to have it happen. So ASARCO started the cleanup in the mid-1990s. They consolidated all the waste into the OCF. That was closed in 1996. They also started the cleanup of the yards. A lot of the soil from the yards was brought down to Point Ruston to be used as a cover material because it was much cleaner. It also provides a blanket, if you will, over the slag material, which is very rock-like and pointed, so it would puncture the cap material that we were putting down. So we put down this layer of contaminated soil over the top of that, and then we capped it with low permeable caps. What we did was work with the developer to do this in phases. In order to do that, they had to have the entire site with a temporary cap, so that as we progressed and developed different pieces, they could provide occupancy and allow people to enter the space safely. So in 2006, ASARCO filed for bankruptcy. So the court appointed MC Construction as the entity to take on the site and the development. And so we entered into an order with them, a court order, for them to do this work with us. In 2023, we completed the capping, but as you're very well aware, we have not completed the development. So we went forward with the capping because we were afraid that the developer was not going to be able to complete this site, and we wanted to make sure it was protective in the short term until we can get developers in here to do that development. So the entire site right now is capped, and we will continue to be out here working with developers and doing long-term maintenance and monitoring of the site forever. So next slide, please. So this is just a rendering of Point Ruston. It's on Grand Avenue looking north. You can see the building with the ice cream social in the foreground there, the hotel in the background, and then there's buildings off to the left that don't exist. The one in the corner off to the left is not there yet. It's around the parking garage. Someday there will be a building there. And the building off to the right is still there. Next slide. This is the Dune Peninsula Park. EPA worked with Metro Parks to do this development. We paid for the capping portion of this, and Metro Parks did the development part on top of the cap. So this was done in 2016 through 2020. Next slide, please. So what is a cap? There's 4 different types of caps at this site, and they all interact together. So there's overlap so that we don't have that penetration of water through the cap. So in most of the green spaces that are out on the site where there's vegetation, there's a multi-layer cap, which is shown in the bottom, this right here. So first we put down a HDPE cap, it's like plastic, and then GeoNet, and then we put some clean, they call it borrow, but it's dirt. And then we put a marker layer on top of that so that we know if you get to the marker layer, it gives you an indication, oh, you're getting close to the cap, don't dig anymore. And then we put clean soil on that and then vegetate on that. So we also have low permeable asphalt throughout, so all the roadways throughout the property are low perb asphalt. What they do is they take extra fine material and mix it in with the asphalt that makes it more permeable or impermeable. Then we also have low permeable concrete, so some of the sidewalks out there are also cap, and then of course the buildings are also a cap. So the building foundations as well as the roof and the storm drains act as a cap. So we have all of that out at site. Next slide, please. So this is just a rendering. It's the same one that's down here. You can look at it closer if you'd like later. It shows where the different types of caps are located throughout the site. Next slide. When we were doing the park redevelopment, we found that the outer shoreline of the Breakwater Peninsula, the cap, which was an armored cap, large rock, had failed and slag was re-exposed. So we just completed the repair for that. So you've probably seen us out there doing the work, but what we did was re-armor from where that bell kettle is at the entrance to the park all the way over to where the yacht club sits. So with that, we engineered it this time. Last time, ASARCO, when they installed it, it was not engineered. It was just rock pretty much dumped over the side. This time we actually engineered it for seismic conditions and also for future storm events. We made the rock at a shallower slope so that the wave action will actually run up and down rather than hit it and undermine the rock that's there. We added some habitat mix onto the top of the rock in the intertidal zone to make it more fish friendly for those fish migrating through the system. We're going to be doing a little bit more cleanup work in the habitat basin. Some of the rock has unraveled in there. We're going to have them pick those up and tuck those back into the shoreline and cover those with habitat mix as well. So the habitat basin was actually constructed for habitat. I like to see the harbor seals using it frequently for their pups, but I also saw a river otter out there the other day rolling in the dirt. So it's nice to see all of this wildlife enjoying all of the cleanup as well. Next slide, please. So what's happened in 2023? So building 5, which is down on the Tacoma side, they had started construction. They started it without our approval, so they are in violation of that. But they stopped construction in July due to a lack of funding. The contractor walked off the job. It's been sitting for too long, so right now the exposed soils are only covered with plastic and sheets of plywood. So we're going to go in there and put down a thick layer of sand over the top of it to be a bit more protective until we can get another developer in there to finish that work. The shoreline armor repair, of course, we did that. It failed in the late 90s. We believe it was the Nisqually earthquake that in 2001 that first caused the undermining, and then just erosion from storm events further unraveled it. So we actually had to remove slag. We took the slag is considered a state dangerous waste. It's not a hazardous waste, but because it was a state dangerous waste, we took it down to Arlington, Oregon, and put it in a hazardous waste landfill. So we had to remove that to create a bench to put rock on that is like a key, so it will hold that rock up much better in the long term. So that's the toe berm, and then of course we place the rock on the slope, much larger rock too. And then the city of Tacoma has an outfall that comes out right there, and it was destroyed long ago. It actually acted like a geyser because it was just coming out of one of the escape exits from the existing. The rest of it was all long gone. It's all washed away. So we repaired that for them and finished out the capping of the shoreline around that. Next. So this year we put the habitat mix down on the shoreline. I had some parties from the Hylabos Waterway owed us some work, so we had them keeping that habitat mix going from where it stopped at the fence line between the park and the yacht club and going around the corner to extend that habitat zone for the fish. So the sediments in the yacht basin and the area around the peninsula point, that's called the nearshore areas, we're going to be studying those for lead and arsenic and other metals that are released to see if we need to do something. The ROD for the cleanup plan for the sediments called for dredging out the entire yacht basin. And we're not sure if we need to do that. So we haven't sampled in there since '85, I believe. So we feel it's prudent for us to go in and get some current data. So Carolyn is going to be leading the charge on that and getting more information. And if we do need to change our cleanup plan, you'll probably get an opportunity to comment on that. The litigation against Point Ruston LLC is happening by many investment firms, by the Owners Association, and a lot of others. So we have a pause right now in development while we work through all of these litigations. So we have Department of Justice working with us to act on our behalf, but we are in constant communications with all of these potential new developers, trying to get them in and get all the orders in place as quickly as possible. So that's where that sits. So you probably won't be seeing much in the way of development in the next few years as we work through that. The yards program, so cleaning up the yards in Ruston and North Tacoma, is almost complete by EPA. Department of Ecology is continuing on their cleanups. We also have a new agency-led policy. So Adam, who is here, is going to be taking the lead on evaluating the new lead policy and how it relates to our site to determine if we need to do more cleanup. EPA is also starting our 5-year review. So we do take public input. If you would like to give any, you can provide it to, either through our website or directly to Carolyn. And we look at the protectiveness of the entire site. So it's quite a large document. The last one is on the website. So if you want to look at it and see what we said last time. And that's it for this year. So ongoing activities at ASARCO. So we continue to make sure that the public is protected. That is our first and foremost thing that we really do, and it's part of what EPA is all about, is protecting human health and the environment. We are making sure that the groundwater and surface water, which is stormwater, is sampled quarterly. There's methane monitoring on some of the buildings, mainly on the Tacoma side, where there was buried wood waste from the lumber mills that used to be here, and they release methane, and so we have methane monitoring systems in those buildings to ensure that those people are safe. And we'll continue to monitor the CAP, the shoreline, and all the infrastructure. It's all inspected annually, and we oversee any penetrations of the CAP. So any developer that wants to come in, of course, they'll have to remove the CAP that's there. We'll be there to make sure that they do it properly and do proper operation and maintenance of that CAP in perpetuity. So with that, this is the contacts for our site. So we have up there Carolyn Wynn, who will be taking over the Point Ruston site and the offshore sediments. We have Stephen Lucas, who will be taking on Operable Unit 3, which is the Tacoma tar pits, which is down where the ice facility is located. And Adam Nichols, who will be taking on Operable Unit 4, which is the North Tacoma Ruston Yards. Of course, We have our community involvement coordinator. You can always contact him and he can get you in contact with any of our RPMs as well. Next slide. And if you have any further need for information, you can go to our website.